as I was saying, I think we do also have, these are the options right now where you can enter your uh, prices. One is, of course, manually through the T code, FDC 17. One is upload from an Excel file, and data feed, which is again price interfaces. So if you move to next screen. So we already spoke about, we saw this screen. FDC 17 is the T code, and you would be able to just add prices manually, one by one, or copy paste based on certain parameters. But yeah, this is manual thing, and most of the times, because since there's so many prices available, we always end up using price interfaces. But before we have price interfaces design, this is a tool we can use always to store prices. And next slide,
you
please.
can also see what was the yearly high and the historical high. So this is another feature which is available within this FBCS 17 T code.
Right.
The history and quality, we already spoke about that.
Yeah. And based on, like in this case, if this was a forward index type, a DCS ID, and specifically, like, let's say, LME future or a LME contract, you can have different period types like yearly prices, quarterly prices, monthly prices. That applies for some of the manual prices also, right? The various freight charges or something we have seen, but the prices can be configured accordingly like this. We'll talk about this more during our CPE pricing as well, but you can achieve that level of uh, details also. And the below screen talks about storing prices for options. So for options, it's just not the price, but there are two main characters or parameters which are required. One, it shows whether it is a call or a put, and the strike price, because prices for options are always defined based on these two parameters and not just based on commodity and MIC. So this is the tool, part of, again, treasury and risk management. So before commodities, you could use this tool to even upload your FX rates, interest rates, and so on and so forth. But SAP has provided the functionality to upload DCS-based prices as well. It's the same functionality. And the F1 documentation provides basically most of the information on how you would want to upload prices. So it shows you here step in this slide as well. You create first, select the download parameters. You can even first download existing records. It will give you the file with those records, and then you can just change and re-upload again if you would like to. So you have the option to do that as well.
Yeah. So the T code for this is TBEXN, and what Nikhil was saying here to download is there's a specific format of the file that needs to be used to upload the prices so that it gets uploaded correctly in FDCS 17. So the best way is to download one file so that you have the parameter, and then you can update the file as per the new prices and then upload it and keep the file for future users.
So once you open up or click on that create button, it will basically open this screen. You will have to allow macros in your Excel sheet basically for this to show. Otherwise, it won't open up. It rather opens Excel directly in your system. So this is the F1 documentation on the right side. It shows for DCS space what each field of in the Excel sheet needs to be, like key 1, key 2, date format, time format if you have, and so on and so forth, right? So you have to specifically follow this format to your upload your prices. and the system would, and it even shows you if the prices are successfully uploaded in the same screen. It will show you whether the price uploaded successfully or it had any errors. Yeah, and as I was saying, the last option is always to use a price interface. I mean, the third option, not. So SAP, basically Treasury and Risk Management, also have the standard functionality for data feed. So you can use that. Basically, but that data feed also, I mean, you have various conversion tables in that node where you have to maintain mappings of DCS IDs and what the basically source and target conversion information basically to acquire a price successfully. But also, again, you can also create your own Z tables, or if you have a third layer of application in between, like SAP PI or anything, so that you can maintain the transformation at that level as well. We also have various puppies where you can directly use. I mean, ultimately, this functionality uses the same thing, but it's quite flexible the way you would like to design the price interfaces.
And most of the times, the clients have their own data moderator systems, like the different data moderator systems like Morningstar and whatnot. So this can also get integrated with those data moderator systems so that it gets the prices from them. So those data moderators does the job of pulling the prices from Platts, Argus, CME, all the different providers, and uh, cleans the data and put the data in a format that we can pull in. So that is possible as well.
Yeah.
I think we spoke about this.
Right. So yeah, this year's currency units, it's same concept what you see in your FX rates, right? You have currency units for different decimals if you want. For example, the example given here is percent or per dollar. So this is the same. This is the same concept here. Yeah. There is nothing different here.
And this is the central currency space where the currencies are determined. And you can determine the currencies based on how many decimal places or what accuracy you want with the customers. For example, most of the times we've seen with different customers that they use 6 decimal places of accuracy for more accurate data, more accurate values. So we can create different currencies, like we have US cents. We can also create US something which is valid for 6 decimal places. And the normal ratio setup for currencies does the setup that how these are related. I mean, 1:1 or 1:10, 5 decimal places. So we can define the different currencies and FX rates come into play. Or you can also say, okay, USCT is a child of USD. So there's no FX conversion happening between USCT and USD. That's how the CP can understand the currencies are defined, but they are same. So I would say 2.56000 US6 to 6 decimal places is equal to 2.56 USD, which is two decimal places. So these are one-to-one relations. And I think we spoke about this.
Right. So yeah, we spoke about history and quality. So this is the same information here as well.
Yeah, and in quality, you can see if for a particular CS and particular period, if all the prices are available, you will see 100% availability. If none of the prices are available, you'll see 0%. So it gives you that quality. And if something is missing, then it will go red and the percentage changes. So that's how you can see the quality of DCS MIC prices. So it's basically any missing prices in the system. If you want to check, you can check with this. Okay. Let's move to the basis pricing. So what we've covered using the DCS make and price type is the future prices, which are being published by Reuters or any publisher like Spot or the future prices. Along with that, we also have a kind of price which is called the basis pricing. For instance, due to the difference in locations, due to the difference in time or quality, there can be an adjustment on top of the futures. So any adjustment to the future published prices is done using a basis pricing. In ACM world, we see elevator differentials, like there can be location differences. In oil and gas, we can have rack prices. For instance, excuse me. For instance, from marketing and supply to the gas stations, there can be a difference in prices. So basis prices come into picture, adding additional value on top of the futures prices, right? So one example is the location differences. For example, if uh, CBOT is publishing a price of wheat winter, then is publishing the futures prices based on a certain delivery period at a certain location, right? Or in case of oil and gas, for example, WTI, the published prices are based on the certain quantity or quality of the oil at a certain location, like Oklahoma, is based on that delivery location. So if there is a change in location, instead of Oklahoma, we are going to Texas, we are going to the California West Coast regions or to the Gulf Coast regions, there can be a change in prices because the location is different, and there can be additional charge for the transportations and different pipeline transportations or truck transportations. There can be different additional costs, right? So these are adjusted using a basis pricing. So this is an example of basis pricing where the locations are different. So the basic concept of basis pricing, I think, should be clear because it's also used most commonly in the ACM world. So these are different. This is a common business scenario, but we don't need to get into this right now. So like I was explaining, a basis pricing gets added to the top on top of the futures prices to come up with the cash price at that time at that location, right? And these are the different formulas what you can say that a basis is the cash minus futures, and a future is the cash minus basis. And we already saw that this adjustment can be due to any freight, any storage cost. For example, in any of the elevator, if there's a storage of wheat or corn, that cost can also get implied on top of the futures prices. If there's any adjustment on quality factors, then that gets added on top of the futures prices, right? So these all are covered using basis pricing. And in SAP, we have utilized, we have brought in the basis pricing in the same commodity management space, which is slightly different than the DCS-based market data. In this, we do not have the DCS. It can be related to DCS, but these are not market or not exchange published prices. So this is the same stuff what we discussed. Okay, so this is important slide for a basis ID and basis pricing. So we have seen the basis market data is nothing but are the prices, the different basis prices, right? And to capture these prices, we create a basis ID. A basis ID can be user created ID, like it can be WTI at CA or SRW at Kansas or any other location. You can create basis ID as per the requirement of the client. And this basis ID works in conjunction with the basis type and basis category. Now, what are these? In the basis category, we can define what kind of basis we are going to use. It can be location differential, it can be a freight differential, it can be quality differential, That's what we determine in the category. What is the category of the differential? Then in the basis type, we can also add additional layer saying, okay, in case of location differential, what kind of differences are we going to use? Whether it's going to be internal or external. For example, we can use external purpose for settlement purposes, like for customers and vendors. We can use this kind of basis type, which is external, which goes out in the invoice and on the deals. However, the internal ones can be used for your mark-to-market calculations, and you can have two different prices for each. So using basis type for the same location differential, you can have two prices saying that, okay, external, I want to add $0.2 per bushels. And for internal, I want to use $0.3 per bushels. Okay, so I'll take it at no. And then we have basis ID creation. And then we have the basis market data prices. So the prices for basis market data is stored in, we'll see further, is stored in transaction FDCS 17B, B as in basis. And you can create the basis ID using FDCS 1818. And let me see if we have additional screen to show this. Otherwise, I can quickly show this in this system. Okay, this is the prices. Yeah. Here you have the basis category and you have the basis type and basis ID, and the DCS and make and price type can be defined based on the basis type, whether it's relevant for DCS or make or not. So what, like I said earlier, a basis type can be defined whether it is based on any DCS or make or not. So here we have created one basis category, which says, okay, this is the primary basis, which is added on top of the primary prices, which is referring to the exchange. And this is based on a DCS and make. We can also have not based on any DCS or make. But in this system, this basis category was based on a DCS and make. This derives how the prices are being set in the system and how you want to work with the prices in the documents, in the logistics documents. There can be others like here, which is a secondary basis for transportation, which is not based on any DCS and make. You can also define your default currency so that it populates automatically in the FDCS 17B transactions. In the basis type, it's a fairly simple setup where you